If you've ever squinted at a nutrition label in the grocery aisle only to give up and trust the 100% heart-healthy claim, this video is for you. In 2025, packaging often highlights benefits that sound impressive, but don't always match the full picture. For older adults, nutrient needs shift: fewer calories, more protein and fiber, and closer attention to sodium and added sugars all matter for staying healthy. Today, you'll see 10 common foods to rethink, plus practical swaps you can use right away. Check labels, and if you have chronic conditions or take medication, confirm choices with your clinician, especially starting with one everyday snack aisle favorite. Flavored Greek yogurt, protein with a sugar sidecar. Walk into any grocery store, and you'll see whole rows of colorful yogurt cups stacked neatly at eye level. For many older shoppers, the ones that stand out are covered with friendly promises like supports heart health and great for strong bones, often paired with images of smiling couples enjoying breakfast. The message is clear: this is yogurt made with you in mind. On the surface, it seems like an easy win. Greek yogurt has a strong reputation for being high in protein and a satisfying snack without a lot of empty calories. But in 2025, the health halo around some flavored versions hides issues that can quietly undermine those benefits. One of the biggest concerns is the amount of added sugar, something most shoppers overlook. Flavored varieties frequently contain substantial added sugars, sometimes doubling or tripling the natural milk sugars. The result is closer to a dessert than a balanced snack, even if it's sitting in the healthy dairy section. That sweetness can come from cane sugar, syrups, or reduced fruit purees that have been processed down to little more than concentrated sugar water. Artificial or natural flavors are often blended in to boost taste and make the product shelf-friendly, but they add nothing nutritionally. For older adults, there's another layer to this. As you age, insulin sensitivity tends to decline, meaning your body doesn't handle quick jolts of sugar as well as it once did. The World Health Organization recommends keeping free and added sugar under 10% of daily energy intake, with further reduction toward 5% for added dental health benefits. The American Heart Association suggests no more than about 24 grams per day for women and 36 grams for men. A single flavored Greek yogurt can easily take up a large share of that allowance before you've even finished breakfast. That kind of load can cause more pronounced blood sugar swings, especially if you live with diabetes, prediabetes, or other glucose regulation issues. You may feel alert for a short time after eating, but the spike and drop pattern can leave you tired or craving more carbs soon after. While these effects vary from person to person, the pattern is not ideal for maintaining steady energy through the day. And if you take glucose-lowering medication or have known digestive sensitivities, it's smart to check with your clinician before making high-sugar dairy a regular habit. They can help you understand how it might interact with your overall treatment plan and dietary needs. The protein in Greek yogurt is still valuable. It supports muscle mass and satiety, which are important with age. But in the flavored cups marketed to seniors, that benefit often comes packaged with extras you don't need. Some are fortified in ways that reduce calcium compared to what you might expect, and they may contain stabilizers, gums, or starch-based thickeners to improve texture. For those with sensitive digestion, ingredients such as carrageenan or certain gums can cause discomfort, particularly if you're already managing conditions like irritable bowel syndrome or diverticulosis. Taste is a big reason these formulas exist. The natural tang of plain Greek yogurt can be off-putting if you're used to sweeter products, and food companies know this. Their solution is to load it with flavorings, fruit blends made from concentrates or sugary dessert profiles like caramel latte. Even real fruit, flavored cups may have less actual fruit than adding a small handful of fresh berries at home. This shifts the product toward the same nutritional profile as pudding, regardless of the front-of-package health cues. So what's the most straightforward fix? Choose plain Greek yogurt, low-fat or whole, depending on your calorie and fat goals, and add your own flavor. A handful of fresh berries, a sprinkle of cinnamon, or a drizzle of honey if you want more sweetness puts you in control. This swap preserves the high protein content and lets you keep added sugars low. Buying larger tubs of plain Greek yogurt instead of small flavored cups is often cheaper per serving, and it allows you to portion out exactly what you need. This way, you decide the balance of protein, carbs, and flavor in every serving, not the manufacturer. Plain versions also tend to skip some of the texture additives found in flavored options, so they're easier on digestion for many people. You won't be eating around hidden, evaporated cane juice, or fruit concentrate blends buried in the ingredients list. And if you monitor your blood sugar, the steadier responses you get from plain yogurt can make it simpler to predict your body's reactions and plan meals accordingly. Even when it comes to calcium, you can work around the slightly lower levels in Greek yogurt due to straining. Pair it with other calcium-rich foods, like fortified plant milks in a smoothie or a side of leafy greens, to make up the difference without compromising your sugar targets. That's a more deliberate strategy than hoping a flavored cup happens to line up with your nutrient needs. Small daily habits matter over time. If you're eating one flavored Greek yogurt each morning, the added sugar adds up over weeks and months. For someone watching energy levels, weight, dental health, or glucose control, that shift can be significant. Switching to plain and flavoring it yourself delivers the same convenience, better nutrition, and a product that genuinely works for you. Next time you're in the yogurt aisle, check the nutrition panel before focusing on the packaging. If the sugar content rivals or exceeds the protein content, think of it as a dessert and consider whether that's really the start you want to your day. Being intentional here makes it much easier to sidestep products that work against your goals while still enjoying the foods you like. And once you've looked more closely at what's in that cup, it's worth taking the same approach with other, healthy, breakfast standbys that may not be as innocent as they seem. Instant oatmeal packets, the morning blood sugar roller coaster. Another breakfast staple that can look wholesome at first glance is the flavored instant oatmeal packet. In the grocery aisle, they're hard to miss small boxes full of brightly designed packets labeled with names like maple brown sugar, apple cinnamon, or superfood berry blend. The photos on the front show steaming bowls of oats topped with nuts or drizzles of honey, and the slogans promise fiber-rich fuel that's perfect for your active morning. For many older adults, the draw is obvious. They're light, easy to store, quick to prepare, and require little cleanup. Just pour into a bowl, add hot water, and breakfast is ready. If arthritis makes cooking more difficult or mornings are simply a time for ease, it can feel like the perfect solution. Yet the part that matters most is what's inside those packets. Flavored instant oatmeal often carries significant added sugar and much less fiber than whole rolled oats, so it can give you a quick sweet jolt that fades fast. The oats are often coated with sugar or syrup that dissolves instantly in hot water. And because each packet is a pre-measured serving, what's in it is set. You can't dial it back if you're trying to manage your sugar intake. Marketing around these products often leans on the word fiber, but that number is usually lower than expected. Many packets contain just 3 or 4 grams, better than nothing, but far less than what you'd get from a full portion of plain rolled oats. For older adults, whose diets often need more fiber for digestive health, this mismatch matters. Some of the packet's weight comes from powdered flavor mixes or candies of dried fruit rather than nutrient-dense ingredients. If your activity level is lower or you take medications that can slow digestion, the difference between this and true whole oats can be felt over time. For seniors, there's an added physiological point worth knowing. As you age, metabolism shifts and the body can become less efficient at managing blood sugar after eating high-sugar foods. Starting the day with a sweet breakfast may cause a quick rise in energy, followed by a more dramatic drop than you might expect. That post-breakfast slump can leave you tired, lightheaded, or craving another carb-heavy snack within hours. And for some, that shift in alertness or balance can increase the risk of a slip or fall if it happens while out or moving around the home. The very way instant oats are processed adds to this pattern. They're pre-cooked and dried, which is why they can be ready in minutes. But that also means they digest faster than rolled or steel-cut oats, turning into glucose more quickly in the body. Add a generous helping of sugar, and the impact on blood sugar is even more pronounced. You might think you're starting with something steady and heart-healthy, but nutritionally it behaves more like a sweet snack than a long-lasting breakfast. Visual cues on the box can also be misleading. The image might show whole slices of apple or plump blueberries, yet inside are often small, sweetened dried pieces providing little beyond extra sugar. Even lightly sweetened or natural flavor versions can pack more added sugar than you'd expect, simply blended with lower intensity sweeteners to maintain taste. The fruit in these packets is rarely enough to count toward a meaningful serving, and it lacks the fiber and hydration fresh or frozen fruit would provide. Some brands try to compensate by fortifying these packets with vitamins and minerals like calcium or B vitamins. While that can look promising on paper, the overall nutritional trade-off often works against you. Added nutrients don't slow the rapid digestion or blunt the sugar spike, and they're not always as well absorbed as nutrients from whole foods. And if you're already supplementing based on a doctor's advice, that extra fortification may be redundant. It's true that the convenience is real. Anyone can boil water and have oats ready in under 2 minutes, but it's worth weighing if that speed needs to come with the sugar load. There are simple, just-as-fast ways to get the warmth and comfort of oats without the downside. The most practical step is to buy plain rolled oats or unsweetened quick oats in bulk. They're inexpensive, store well, and let you decide how to flavor them. The prep can be identical to a packet. Measure your portion, add hot water or milk, and stir. By starting plain, you get the full natural fiber of the oats with none of the built-in sugar. From there, add toppings that give you flavor and functional nutrition. Fresh or frozen berries for natural sweetness and antioxidants, sliced banana or diced apple for additional fiber, a sprinkle of cinnamon for warmth without sugar, or a spoonful of nut butter to add healthy fats and protein that slow digestion. This approach lets you match the creamy texture of flavored instant oats by cooking with dairy or fortified plant milk, and gets you closer to a balanced breakfast that supports steady energy. If you want a touch of added sweetness, you control the amount, often ending up with much less than what's hidden in a single flavored packet. Managing breakfast well isn't just about avoiding excess calories. For many seniors, it's about creating a solid foundation for the day, a meal that fuels you without sudden drops in energy or focus. Paying attention to the differences between flavored instant oats and plain oats with your own mix-ins can shift breakfast from a source of hidden sugar swings to one that supports stability and satiety. And this habit of questioning the health version of a packaged staple pays dividends beyond breakfast. The same marketing strategies that wrap sugars in reassuring phrases like fiber-rich show up in plenty of pantry items, where the numbers on the nutrition label tell a different story than the front of the box. Before long, you start to see patterns in how foods are positioned and what's actually inside. Knowledge that makes it much easier to sidestep products that work against your long-term health, even when they're dressed up for your benefit. Some of the most heavily marketed everyday items lean less on sugar and more on other flavor enhancers, which can be just as important to monitor as you get older. Low-sodium soups, salty by another name. One packaged meal that often gets an automatic green light from shoppers trying to eat better is the low-sodium soup. For anyone working to support healthy blood pressure or reduce strain on the heart, that phrase on a can sounds like it's doing the heavy lifting for you. And it's easy to see why these soups find a place in so many kitchens. They last for months in the pantry, heat up quickly, and offer a hot, filling option when cooking from scratch feels like too much. The catch is that low sodium on the front doesn't always mean what you think. In many cases, reduced salt soups still carry well over 500 milligrams of sodium per 1 cup serving. Since most cans are labeled as containing 2 servings, a single can often delivers 1,000 milligrams or more in one sitting. For context, the American Heart Association recommends limiting sodium to no more than 2,300 milligrams per day, and ideally 1,500 milligrams for many older adults. A practical target when shopping for any packaged meal is around 500 milligrams of sodium or less. That one benchmark makes it easier to scan labels, and quickly decide whether something fits your day's allowance. There's also another ingredient swap to watch for. To keep a salty taste while cutting some sodium chloride, manufacturers often use potassium chloride. While it can help lower sodium content, it's not risk-free. If you have kidney disease or take certain blood pressure medications, you can be more sensitive to changes in potassium levels. Too much can lead to muscle weakness or abnormal heart rhythms. If a label lists potassium chloride, it's worth checking with your doctor or dietitian before making it a regular habit. Even without looking at those details, sodium limits for older adults are easy to overshoot. With age, blood vessels and the cardiovascular system become less efficient at handling big sodium loads. That can mean a soup labeled 25% less sodium still delivers more than your body can comfortably manage in a single meal. And if you're paying attention only to the per serving number on the label, you might miss that your actual intake doubles when you finish the can. Flavor is another area to consider. Cutting down salt can make broth taste flat, so companies often use natural flavors and yeast extracts to mimic the original, savory taste. These can still contain smaller amounts of sodium-bearing compounds that add up. They keep the taste familiar, but they don't make the soup much friendlier to your sodium budget. Some recipes also add noodles, refined rice, or thickened starches that do little for long-lasting fullness. If the soup doesn't hold your appetite for long, you may end up reaching for another snack later, adding more sodium to the day without realizing it. Long shelf life comes from a mix of heat processing and stabilizers. While generally safe, some of these additions, like modified food starch, can cause mild digestive discomfort for certain people. And for anyone on diuretics or other medications to manage fluid balance, excess sodium in any form can work against the treatment. Even when labels seem reassuring, the reality of how your body handles the load matters more than the marketing. If you've come to rely on canned soup for convenience, you don't have to remove it completely. Just shift toward versions that give you control over the final sodium content. No salt added soups are an excellent base, though they may taste plain straight out of the can. You can easily build flavor at home with black pepper, garlic, onion powder, herbs like rosemary or parsley, or a splash of lemon juice or vinegar. These brighten taste without pushing up sodium levels. If you use canned vegetables or beans in homemade soup, rinsing them under water before adding reduces sodium noticeably. The American Heart Association notes that blanching or rinsing can remove a significant portion of added sodium, making it a simple kitchen step with a big payoff. Making soup from scratch is another option, especially if you cook a large batch and freeze servings. This way, you decide how much or how little salt goes into it from the start. Chicken with carrots, celery, and whole grains can be simmered with herbs for depth and finished with just enough seasoning at the end. Adjusting at the table lets each person tailor their bowl without overshooting health goals. If your needs change over time, you can reduce salt even further without adjusting a recipe on a printed label. Reading the whole ingredient list, front and back, becomes a habit that pays off quickly. When you see low sodium on the front, check whether the back shows more than 500 milligrams per serving, whether the container holds more than one serving, and whether potassium chloride or other sodium-like additives are included. Those quick checks make it easier to choose products that align with your health needs, not just the company's marketing angle. In the end, low sodium should be a starting point for investigation, not a final decision. By aiming for packaged meals at or below 500 milligrams of sodium when possible, paying attention to serving sizes, and flavoring at home with herbs and acids, you can keep enjoying the ease of soup without the unwanted effects. Whether that means building your own from no-salt added bases or freezing homemade batches, the key is deciding for yourself exactly what's in your bowl. That way, you get the warmth and comfort you want, while staying in control of the nutrients that matter most. Once you start looking at the numbers behind the labels, it's easier to spot patterns in other, healthy shelf products that promise more than they deliver, sometimes not with salt, but with other nutrients worth tracking just as closely. Whole grain crackers, the fiber illusion. Another snack that tends to get an automatic nod of approval is the box of whole grain crackers. Crack open a package and the crackers usually look the part: golden brown, maybe with visible flecks that suggest hearty grains. The packaging leans hard on this image, with phrases like "made with whole wheat" or "fuel for healthy aging" beside pictures of wheat stalks or sprinkled seeds. For anyone trying to keep snacks aligned with goals for heart health, digestion, and steady energy, the message is clear. This is the grown-up, better-for-you choice. Compared to pale, refined crackers or chips, they seem like the obvious upgrade, light, crisp, and easy to pair with spreads. In reality, what's inside often doesn't match the picture you've been sold. A big part of the disconnect comes from how whole grain is defined on the label. Many products in the healthy aisle are blends, some whole grain flour mixed with a larger share of refined white flour. To keep that hearty look, manufacturers may add caramel coloring or malt extract rather than relying on the natural color of whole wheat. If you expect a meaningful amount of fiber, this can be disappointing. The best way to check is to scan the ingredients. Look for a whole grain listed first, and aim for around 3 grams of fiber per serving if you want it to make a real contribution toward your daily target. Without that, the fiber benefit you think you're getting may be too small to make much difference for digestion or satiety. For older adults, those missing grams of fiber matter more than labels suggest. Fiber helps keep the digestive system regular and becomes especially important when mobility is lower, fluid intake isn't as high, or certain medications slow things down. Snacking a few times a week on crackers that offer little more than refined starch can slowly chip away at your daily fiber intake without you realizing it. Over time, it can contribute to a low fiber pattern that impacts gut health more than most people expect from something marketed as whole grain. Sodium is another quietly building factor. Crackers generally don't taste as salty as chips, but they can still pack enough sodium to matter, especially in portions people actually eat. A listed serving might be just 6 or 7 crackers, but it's common to eat double that in one sitting, especially if paired with cheese, dips, or soup. It's easy to go over your intended sodium limit without realizing, and for anyone keeping an eye on blood pressure, those extra milligrams add up quickly. The seeds scattered over some varieties, flax, sesame, poppy, are often used to signal extra nutrition. Seeds do provide healthy fats and minerals in larger amounts, but on crackers they are usually more of a garnish than a meaningful source. While they can offer some nutrients, the quantities are small compared to eating seeds by the tablespoon in yogurt or cereal. Another point worth noting is texture and comfort. According to dietary guidance like MyPlate and Canada's Food Guide, older adults often need to consider dental and swallowing comfort when choosing foods. For those with dentures, bridges, or sensitive gums, seeds can lodge uncomfortably or require extra cleaning. In some cases, they can irritate a sensitive digestive tract, especially for people with certain gastrointestinal conditions. Seeds aren't inherently a problem for everyone, but it's worth testing small amounts first if you're unsure. Texture overall is something manufacturers engineer into these snacks. The consistent crispness, even months after packaging, usually comes from added oils or shortening that help keep crackers fresh and snappable. These are often refined vegetable oils that don't add the same nutritional value you'd get from sources like olive oil or nuts. If crackers are a daily go-to, that hidden fat source becomes a regular part of your diet, without offering many of the healthier types of fats you might expect from whole food snacks. When you look at the full picture, refined flour blended with some whole grain, calorie-dense flavorings, minor seed decoration, moderate sodium, and shelf-stabilizing fats. It's clear many whole grain crackers are processed carbs dressed up to look like nutrient-rich foods. For anyone aiming to make every calorie count towards stronger nutrition, that's a poor return on the investment. They work more like a light, salty, refined snack than the steady, fiber-rich energy source the front packaging suggests. If you're after a convenient, crunchy bite without those trade-offs, there are swaps that keep the experience but improve the nutrition. Air-popped popcorn is one of the easiest. It's a true whole grain, naturally low in sodium before seasoning, and offers good volume for relatively few calories. 3 cups of air-popped popcorn can feel like a generous snack, especially with flavor from herbs, a sprinkle of spice, or a light mist of olive oil to make seasoning stick. You get real fiber, control over salt, and the satisfying crunch many people want from crackers. Another option is making simple whole seed crackers at home. Using flax, chia, pumpkin, or sunflower seeds as a base, with oat flour or blended rolled oats as the binder, puts the seeds front and center, where they have a meaningful impact on nutrition. You choose the level of salt, the texture, and the oil, so you can make them softer if chewing is a concern or crispier if that's preferred. With only a handful of ingredients, they store well, and you can adjust batches to match dietary needs over time. Even among store-bought crackers, better options exist. You just need to read beyond the front label. Start by checking if a whole grain is the first ingredient. If fiber is around 3 grams per serving or more, that's a sign it could contribute meaningfully to your daily intake. Review sodium content per serving, and think about how many you typically eat at once. It's a small effort at the point of purchase, but helps avoid snacks that look high fiber and heart healthy yet don't deliver. The main point is that whole grain on the front of the box doesn't guarantee much without confirmation from the numbers and ingredient list on the back. Choosing snacks that actually match the benefits you expect takes that extra step of checking what's really inside and deciding if it's worth the space in your everyday diet. For some people, that means keeping crackers as an occasional treat and relying more often on snacks where you control the salt, fiber, and type of fat, like popcorn or homemade seed crackers. Being clear on what supports your health goals helps avoid the disappointment of thinking you've picked the better snack, only to find it wasn't much different from the one you meant to replace. And once you're in the habit of looking past marketing and focusing on what your body actually gets from a food, it becomes easier to spot other products that overpromise through clever design, but underdeliver in real nutrition. From the snack aisle to the checkout counter, the same habits can help you decide which products genuinely fit your needs and which are just dressed up for the part. Fruit juice, energy shots, liquid sugar in disguise. Right next to some of those better-for-you snacks, you'll often see another product aimed squarely at health-conscious shoppers: fruit juice energy shots. These tiny, brightly packaged bottles line checkout displays and wellness shelves, promising everything from immune support to natural energy in just a couple of sips. They market themselves as concentrated nutrition without the time, portion, or preparation of a full snack or meal. For older adults, the pitch is obvious. These bottles are small, easy to open, simple to store in the fridge, and they seem to deliver the benefits of fresh produce in a fast, fuss-free way. The splashes of fruit or shots of leafy greens pictured on the label reinforce that idea. In reality, what's inside rarely matches that promise. Most juice shots share the same defining feature. They concentrate sugars and remove most of the fiber. This means they behave more like sugary drinks than whole fruit. The sweetness comes mainly from fruit juice or juice concentrates, forms that contain the naturally occurring fructose and glucose of the fruit in a compact, rapidly absorbed dose. Because the pulp and skin are gone, the fiber that would slow digestion and moderate blood sugar spikes is missing. Even bottles labeled "no added sugar" can still be high in free sugars, simply from the fruit juice itself. According to guidance from the World Health Organization, free sugars, those added to foods or present in juice, should make up less than 10% of total daily energy, with a reduction to around 5% offering extra health benefit. For many people, a small juice shot can quickly use up a large part of that daily allowance. The nutrient claims on these bottles often focus on vitamin C, which is essential for immune function. But that vitamin C typically comes from added ascorbic acid rather than being retained naturally in the juice. While it's still bioavailable, the rest of the fruit's complex nutrient profile, its phytonutrients, antioxidants in the skin, and natural fiber, has been left behind in processing. What you end up drinking is often flavored liquid with isolated nutrients added back, not the whole food equivalent the marketing implies. Metabolically, the concentrated sugar load from juice shots can be more challenging with age. Fructose is processed primarily by the liver. In high amounts, especially from refined or juice sources, it can add to fat buildup in the liver over time. That's relevant because non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is more common in older adults, and small, high-sugar beverages taken frequently may contribute. Fructose also bypasses the usual hormonal signals that help regulate appetite, so your body may not register it the way it would register calories from starch or more complex carbohydrates. That means it's easy to take in energy without feeling any fuller, leading to extra snacking later. Satiety plays a big role here. Eating a whole piece of fruit takes time, engages chewing, and allows your digestive system to start breaking it down early, triggering fullness signals. With a juice shot, you bypass this process altogether. It's gone in seconds, and your body has little warning that you've consumed the sugar equivalent of multiple servings of fruit. For someone trying to maintain steady energy and manage appetite, that can set up a pattern of spikes and dips in blood glucose. In older adults, who may already have reduced insulin sensitivity, these swings can be sharper and more likely to cause feelings of fatigue or unsteadiness soon after the initial lift. Beyond the sugar, many juice shots lean on trendy add-ins such as ginger, turmeric, or cayenne pepper to boost their functional appeal. While these ingredients have documented health benefits at meaningful doses, the amounts in juice shots are often too small to have real therapeutic impact. A dash of turmeric in a sweet base doesn't match the anti-inflammatory potential seen in studies, and a hint of ginger won't deliver the digestive effects you might expect from larger amounts in food or tea. Including these flavors makes the product feel gourmet and functional, but they can distract from the fact that the main component is still concentrated fruit sugar. Some brands also market probiotic-infused versions, playing into the growing interest in gut health. The problem is, probiotic viability depends on careful handling, constant refrigeration, limited shelf life, protection from acidity. The acidity of fruit juice and the conditions in transport and storage can reduce the number of live cultures significantly before you even open the bottle. That makes the probiotic claim unreliable unless the product has been handled under ideal conditions, which isn't always guaranteed. Then there's the matter of cost. When you break it down per ounce, these tiny bottles are among the most expensive items in the beverage section. For someone on a fixed income, that means paying a premium for what is often just a small serving of fruit sugar, water, flavoring, and one or two added vitamins or extracts. Compared to whole produce or homemade drinks, the value is limited, especially if you're looking for lasting satiety or a broad nutrient profile. If you're drawn to juice shots for hydration and flavor, there are lower sugar, higher benefit alternatives that match the convenience. Infused water is one of the simplest. Adding slices of citrus, berries, cucumber, or fresh herbs to a jug of water and letting it sit gives pleasant flavor and scent without the concentrated sugar hit. The natural compounds that leach into the water can make it more appealing to drink, which is useful for anyone who finds plain water uninviting. And hydration supports almost every aspect of health as you age. If your priority is actually getting the nutrients of fruit along with slower sugar absorption, whole fruit smoothies are a much better fit. Blending the entire fruit keeps the pulp and fiber, which slows digestion, blunts the blood sugar rise, and benefits your microbiome. Combining fruit with a source of protein, like unsweetened yogurt or milk, and a source of healthy fat, like nuts or seeds, can further improve satiety and nutrient balance. This kind of drink is still easy to consume and prepare, but it works more like food than a quick liquid calorie load. For those who want something concentrated, but not high in sugar, low-sugar vegetable blends offer another home-prepared option. Base them on vegetables such as spinach, cucumber, or celery, and add a small amount of fruit for taste. You'll keep the sugar content far below that of commercial juice shots while still enjoying freshness and a lineup of beneficial plant compounds. None of this means you can never have a juice shot. An occasional one, especially as part of a balanced meal, won't harm most people. But using them regularly as a nutrient shortcut is risky, especially for older adults who need to protect energy stability, liver health, and appetite regulation. If you do have one, make it part of a balanced plate that includes protein and healthy fats, so the sugar is absorbed more slowly. Most importantly, don't assume that natural, immune, or energy on the label means low sugar. Always check the total sugar per serving, and remember that a small bottle can hide a high concentration per ounce. By focusing on options that retain fiber and deliver balanced nutrition, you avoid paying for what is essentially liquid sugar in a small, expensive package. Staying aware of label language and looking past the front-of-pack claims to the nutrition panel helps ensure your choices truly support your health goals. And the same vigilance is worth bringing to other, compact, health products that trade on convenience and functional promises, but may come with their own set of trade-offs, especially those targeting quick protein or energy in solid snack form. High-protein snack bars, the fiber-free calorie bomb. High-protein snack bars are one of the most heavily promoted healthy convenience foods right now, especially in products geared toward older adults. In almost any grocery store or pharmacy, you'll see entire displays of them, packaging covered with images of hikers, cyclists, or vibrant, active seniors out on scenic trails. The claims are hard to miss. 20g protein, muscle support, made for your active lifestyle. For anyone trying to maintain strength and muscle mass with age, that amount of protein in one portable package can seem like exactly the right choice. A bar that needs no prep, fits in a bag, and feels like a smart swap for something more indulgent is an appealing idea. But the reality behind many of these bars makes them less ideal as a frequent choice than the marketing suggests. Look closely at the ingredients, and you'll see much of that protein comes from isolates, things like soy protein isolate, pea protein isolate, or whey protein concentrate. These are inexpensive and efficient ways to boost protein numbers, but they don't include the vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, and naturally occurring fiber found in whole protein foods such as legumes, eggs, or dairy. You're getting the protein, but not the broader nutritional package that supports overall health. And that absence of fiber is one of the biggest drawbacks. Fiber is important for everyone, but it becomes especially critical later in life. It supports digestive regularity and helps manage blood sugar responses after meals or snacks. Many high-protein bars aimed at older adults contain very little, often just 1 or 2 grams per serving. Without adequate fiber, these bars provide a fast hit of protein and calories without the bulk needed to keep you full. That means hunger can return quickly, leading you to eat again sooner than expected. Over time, that extra, often unplanned intake makes it harder to stay within calorie targets while still meeting protein needs. It's also worth noting that low sugar, front label claims don't mean much without context. Bars often achieve this by adding various sweeteners, sometimes artificial, sometimes from highly processed sources, that keep the taste appealing but may contribute little nutritionally. Watch the ingredient list for the types of sweeteners used and for the fiber content. If the bar has high protein but is low in fiber and high in refined carbs or added sweeteners, it's less likely to keep you satisfied and more likely to cause quick energy swings. Pairing protein with either fiber or healthy fat helps slow digestion, leading to steadier energy, a principle reflected in guidance from places like the National Institute on Aging and MyPlate. Older adults do need adequate protein to help preserve muscle mass, particularly if they want to support mobility, balance, and strength. In fact, getting enough high-quality protein spread throughout the day can make a difference in maintaining independence. But the source and context matter. A protein source that comes with little else in the way of nutrition and satiety is only part of the solution. Choosing bars that contain whole food ingredients, like nuts, seeds, and oats, can give you a more balanced nutrient profile. If you have a bar that's low in fiber, pair it with something that adds that element, like a piece of fruit, raw veggies, or a small handful of nuts. The combination works better for satiety and nutrient variety than the bar on its own. Calories are another factor to consider. Many protein bars fall between 200 and 300 calories, which is fine if they truly hold you over or replace a snack you'd eat anyway. The problem is when low fiber and fast-digesting carb ingredients leave you hungry again quickly, essentially stacking another snack on top of those calories. Replacing that bar with a simple combination, say 2 boiled eggs and an apple, or cottage cheese and berries, can give roughly the same calories and protein with more micronutrients and fiber, often for a fraction of the cost. The price gap adds up quickly. It's not unusual for high-protein bars to run $2 to $3 each, more if they're positioned as performance products or specialized nutrition for active older adults. If you eat them every day, you could easily spend $50-$60 a month just on these snacks. For anyone on a fixed income, that's a significant line item, especially when boiled eggs, canned tuna, peanut butter with whole grain toast, or homemade yogurt parfaits offer more balanced nutrition at a lower cost. Many brands also hint that their bars can double as meal replacements. While that can make them sound versatile, it's rare for one to match what a balanced meal should offer. Most fall short on vegetables, healthy fats, and a variety of vitamins and minerals. Using them occasionally for convenience is fine, but relying on them too often as a meal increases the risk of missing important nutrients. That's not a risk worth taking when absorption of vitamins and minerals can already be less efficient with age. A quick self-check before buying can help keep choices on track. Look for at least 3 grams of fiber if you want it to contribute meaningfully. Note the protein source, be aware of the sweeteners used, and consider whether it's likely to keep you full. If it's low in fiber and whole food ingredients, and you know you'll still be hungry soon after, it may work better as a backup option rather than part of your daily routine. If convenience is what you value most, there are ways to keep that benefit without the nutritional downsides. Some newer options in the market use nuts, seeds, and oats to balance protein with fiber and healthy fats. They might have a bit more natural sugar from dried fruit or honey than the lowest sugar bars, but the overall profile can be more supportive of steady energy. Making your own bars at home is another route. Rolled oats, nut butter, seeds, and a natural binder like mashed dates or a small amount of honey can be shaped into portions you store in the fridge or freezer. Pairing quick protein with another whole food is a simple strategy. Cheese with whole grain crackers, a boiled egg with carrot sticks, or hummus with cucumber slices all bring a combination of protein, fat, and fiber in about the same time it takes to unwrap a bar. They're also easy to scale to your hunger level without committing to a large, calorie-dense item all at once. It makes sense to have something you can grab and go travel, long medical visits, or unexpectedly busy days will happen. But convenience foods like high-protein bars work best when they're an occasional tool, not a daily staple. Being selective about which ones you choose, checking that they meet both your protein and fiber needs, and knowing some affordable, balanced alternatives keeps these bars in their place as a backup rather than a habit that drains your budget and shortchanges your nutrition. The same approach, looking past bold front labels and checking the actual nutrition, applies to plenty of other foods that position themselves as health-forward for older adults. The next example is a refrigerated product many shoppers see as an equally smart swap, but that can hide its own challenges once you read past the marketing. Plant-based meat deli slices, ultra-processed pitfall. In the refrigerated deli case, it's now common to see packages of plant-based meat slices displayed right alongside turkey, chicken, or ham. The labels promise things like cholesterol-free or good source of plant protein, reinforced with clean, wholesome design and sandwich images meant to signal health. For anyone cutting down on animal products, they can look like a seamless one-to-one swap. Same texture, similar taste, but from plants instead of meat. Many plant deli slices are highly processed and can be high in sodium and additives, so they're not automatically a healthier choice. Reading the ingredient list and nutrition panel matters more than assuming plant-based equals better. One of the first things you'll notice when you turn the package over is the sodium. 2 slices often land in the 350–450 milligrams range, which climbs quickly if you add more. A generous sandwich could easily push you toward 1,000 milligrams just from the slices alone. For adults aiming to stay within the American Heart Association's sodium guidance, ideally around 1,500 milligrams per day, with 2,300 as the upper limit, that single sandwich can take up a large portion of the budget. The seasoning is part of the product's appeal, so even lightly salted versions still deliver more sodium than most whole food plant proteins. For those on blood pressure medication or with kidney disease, It's especially important to check the sodium content and confirm with a clinician before making these a daily staple. Alongside that sodium number is a long list of stabilizers and thickeners, such as gellan gum, carrageenan, xanthan gum, or methylcellulose. These ingredients help the slices hold together and mimic the pliable chew of cold cuts. While most are considered safe, they can cause digestive issues like bloating or gas for people who already have slower or more sensitive digestion. In older adults, managing gastrointestinal conditions or medications that change bowel function, eating products with multiple gums on a regular basis can add to discomfort. The texture itself has another consideration. That familiar smooth bite comes from processing designed to replicate deli meat. For people with swallowing difficulties, a common concern in some older populations after certain illnesses or surgeries, the elastic quality can make it harder to break down in the mouth. That doesn't mean they're off limits, but it does mean paying attention to whether this texture is comfortable and safe for you. On the protein side, most of these slices get their numbers from soy protein isolate, pea protein concentrate, or a combination. They're efficient sources of protein, but stripped of the fiber, minerals, and other compounds found in the whole foods they came from. Instead of the rounded nutrient package you'd get from cooked lentils, beans, or tofu, you're getting a formulated product that delivers protein but little else. It's closer to eating an isolated protein powder pressed into the shape of meat. This difference matters when your goal is to increase plant protein for overall health. A half cup of cooked lentils gives you protein plus fiber, iron, and complex carbohydrates your body can use steadily. 2 slices of plant deli, meat, may offer a similar protein count, but lack that mix of nutrients, making them less valuable to your diet over time. Fortification can offset some nutrient losses, but it's not the same as eating the nutrients in a whole food matrix, where they tend to be better absorbed. There's also the issue of hidden complexity. Some slices marketed primarily as pea protein still contain soy-derived ingredients further down the list. If you have dietary restrictions, allergies, or interactions to consider, for example, consistent soy intake if you take certain anticoagulants, it's worth noting and talking over with your healthcare provider. A steady intake of concentrated forms of certain proteins can have small but relevant effects on nutrient handling or medication needs, especially if eaten daily from multiple sources. Marketing amplifies the appeal. Brands now use images of active older adults hiking, gardening, or relaxing with family picnics to make these products feel custom-made for aging well. The overall message is that a plant-based processed slice is a step toward a healthier, more active future. While leaning into plant-forward eating can be beneficial, swapping one highly processed food for another, just from a different protein base, won't bring the same advantages as moving toward whole foods. Studies cited in recent nutrition journals, including research in Nature Medicine, have linked high consumption of ultra-processed foods to less favorable aging outcomes. That doesn't mean all such products need to be avoided, but it's a reason to choose them carefully and not let the plant label outweigh the nutrition facts. There are better convenience strategies that still keep you in the plant-forward lane. Whole food options like chickpea salad, lentil patties, or hummus with vegetables can be prepared ahead and stored in the fridge for easy use in meals. Buying canned low-sodium beans or chickpeas lets you make quick sandwiches or wraps without the sodium and additives common in deli-style alternatives. Roasted vegetables layered with a spread can also give you a satisfying sandwich texture with real fiber and a broader nutrient range. Economics come into play too. Packages of plant-based sliced meats typically run several dollars for enough servings to make 2 or 3 sandwiches. A bag of dried lentils or a few cans of beans can make far more meals for the same price while providing the natural fiber and micronutrients that help keep digestion, blood sugar, and satiety in check. For older adults on fixed incomes, this trade-off between cost and nutritional return is worth considering. If you do enjoy these slices and want to keep them in your rotation, the simplest approach is to limit them to occasional use. When you shop, look for varieties with whole soy or other legumes listed as the first ingredient rather than isolates. Keep sodium closer to or under 300 milligrams per serving, and avoid ingredient lists with excessive additives. Pair them with high-fiber breads and fresh produce to help balance the meal. Rotate with days when you use unprocessed plant protein sources. This way, you limit both sodium and reliance on ultra-processed formulations while still enjoying their convenience now and then. The broader goal should guide your choice. If you're trying to increase plant protein for heart health, mobility, or weight control, focus most of your efforts on whole, minimally processed sources and use these slices as a backup when you need speed. That keeps the benefits of a plant-forward diet front and center, rather than hoping a processed alternative will deliver them for you. Reading past the imagery on the packaging and checking the details on the nutrition panel is the skill that pays off most here. High sodium, minimal fiber, multiple gums or stabilizers, and protein from isolates rather than whole legumes are all clues you're buying mimicry more than meaningful nutrition. By reserving these products for occasional use and leaning on inexpensive, whole plant proteins the rest of the time, you get convenience without losing sight of what actually supports healthy aging. The same careful label reading applies across categories, especially to foods whose packaging plays up health benefits while leaving less flattering facts for the fine print. Some of the most appealing examples are found in aisles you might not expect, where a healthy ingredient is wrapped in indulgence that changes the equation entirely. Dark chocolate with superfood additions, candy under a cape. One of the most prominent examples of this, health angle masking a treat, approach sits in the chocolate aisle, where dark chocolate loaded with so-called superfoods has become its own category. Packages in muted browns and metallic accents promise sophistication, with bold cacao percentages meant to signal quality. Add-ons like goji berries, blueberries, or chia seeds carry claims about brain health, antioxidants, or omega-3s. For shoppers, especially older adults who want to believe a small indulgence can also be functional, it feels like a win. But the way many of these bars are made means they still act much more like candy than the front label suggests. High cacao dark chocolate can provide beneficial flavonoids, and in its unsweetened form, it naturally contains less sugar than milk chocolate. The problem comes when manufacturers add sweetened dried fruit to boost flavor and color. Those berries are often processed with syrups or concentrated fruit juice, increasing sugar content while retaining little of the fresh fruit's fiber. The cocoa percentage on the front may still be high, but the total sugar per serving often remains significant enough to matter for both blood glucose and overall calorie intake. Checking both the cocoa percentage and the sugar line on the nutrition panel gives you a clearer sense of what you're actually eating. Even though the fat in chocolate slows digestion a bit, the combination of added sugar from the chocolate base and any sweetened fruit still produces a quick blood sugar rise. With age, insulin sensitivity often declines, making it harder to bring those levels down again. This can lead to sharper energy fluctuations, an initial lift followed by fatigue, irritability, or lightheadedness. For anyone managing blood sugar levels or taking medication that influences them, these swings can make daily routines less predictable and sometimes less safe. Dental health adds another layer of concern. Dark chocolate alone melts away relatively quickly, but small fruit pieces can cling to teeth and dental work, especially if they're sticky or coated. In older adults, who may already have reduced saliva flow from medications or underlying health conditions, that residue can stay on tooth surfaces longer, encouraging plaque buildup and decay. For those with bridges, crowns, or partial dentures, it can also mean more time and care is needed to clean properly after eating. None of this erases the fact that cacao itself is rich in compounds linked to cardiovascular and cognitive benefits. But those benefits don't override the effects of frequent high sugar intake. Adding antioxidant-rich fruit to chocolate sounds good in theory, yet in practice, the sugar load and extra calories can outweigh small nutrient gains, especially if portions creep upward. When a food carries a health-focused message, it's easy to have more than you might of an openly indulgent treat, taking in double or triple the intended serving without thinking much of it. Portion awareness is key. A small square of high-percentage dark chocolate, Deli close to 80% cacao or higher, offers more of the beneficial compounds and less sugar than mid-range bars, and the stronger flavor tends to encourage stopping sooner. If you enjoy the combination of chocolate and fruit, pairing that small piece with unsweetened fresh berries you add yourself gives you control over the sweetness and retains all the fiber from the fruit. That fiber helps slow sugar absorption and improves satiety, making the pairing more nutritionally balanced. Some bars avoid fruit entirely and use additions like nuts, cacao nibs, or seeds to change texture and add micronutrients without greatly increasing sugar. While these usually have a better overall profile, they don't feature as prominently in senior-targeted marketing because they look less vibrant on packaging or read as less exotic. As a result, the options most heavily promoted for their superfood content are often those with the higher sugar counts hiding in the fine print. If you want the chocolate flavor without as much sugar or fat, using unsweetened cocoa powder is another simple approach. It works in smoothies, yogurt, or warm drinks, providing the flavonoids without the concentrated calories of a bar. Mixed with whole fruit and a protein source like yogurt or milk, it can mimic a dessert flavor profile while keeping you in charge of how much sugar is in the final product. For those who enjoy a more traditional chocolate treat, turning it into a mindful ritual can help moderate intake. Take 1 square of quality, high cacao chocolate, sit down, and let it melt slowly in your mouth rather than eating it quickly while distracted. That intensity of flavor usually satisfies more than a casual handful of pieces, and the lower sugar content reduces both its impact on teeth and the sharpness of any blood glucose rise. It's also worth remembering that flavonoids are not unique to chocolate. A diet high in vegetables, fruits, tea, and certain whole grains provides comparable or greater amounts without the extra sugars and fats. Chocolate can be part of the mix, but it works best as a complement to, not a substitute for, other flavonoid-rich foods. Treating it as one enjoyable source among many helps keep portions small and benefits proportionate. The healthiest strategy with these superfood chocolate bars is to treat them as you would any other sweet. Check the total sugar per serving alongside the cacao percentage. If the sugar is high or the fruit is sweetened, think candy first, functional food second. Choose unsweetened fruit or whole food add-ins when possible, keep portions small, and be mindful of how often you eat them. That way you keep the flavor, texture, and indulgence factor that make chocolate appealing, while avoiding the pitfalls that turn an occasional pleasure into a daily sugar source. For older adults, that balance makes a real difference. A few mindful shifts, opting for higher cacao content, avoiding sweetened fruit fillings, pairing with fresh produce, can preserve the enjoyment and potential health benefits of chocolate without undermining oral health or blood glucose control. Occasional, high-quality dark chocolate can absolutely be part of a well-rounded diet when you give as much thought to the label and portion as you do to the promise on the front of the package. That same close-look approach pays off with many other seemingly wholesome products. The next example appears in a completely different grocery section, where a drink positioned as an easy daily upgrade comes with its own set of nutritional trade-offs once you read past the claims. Pre-flavored almond milks, sweetened sips with weak bones. Pre-flavored almond milk has become a familiar sight in refrigerators and store shelves, promoted as a clean, modern alternative to dairy, especially for people avoiding lactose. It feels like an easy swap. It's plant-based, comes in appealing flavors like vanilla or chocolate, and is typically fortified with calcium and vitamin D. The packaging often reinforces the message, showing vibrant, active adults or sunny outdoor scenes alongside claims of being good for bones or heart healthy. On the surface, it looks like one carton could check several health boxes at once. The closer you look at the label, however, the more you see the trade-offs. Many flavored almond milks are sweetened, and the extra sugar, no matter if it's from cane sugar, agave, or another syrup, has the same nutritional impact. That added sweetness makes them more like a light dessert than a neutral milk substitute. For many people, almond milk isn't just a drink on its own. It's something that goes into coffee, cereal, smoothies, and baking. Multiple small servings in a day mean the sugar can add up quickly, a point worth noting for anyone working to keep blood glucose steady. protein content is another major difference from dairy. A cup of cow's milk naturally contains a useful amount of high-quality protein, but almond milk is relatively low in natural protein unless it's been specifically boosted. That gap matters more with age, since the National Institute on Aging and MyPlate both highlight the role of dietary protein in maintaining muscle mass. If you replace milk with almond milk and don't get protein from another source, you could fall short without realizing it. Fortified soy milk or pea protein blends are closer to dairy milk nutritionally when protein is a priority, making them better substitutes for meals where you rely on milk as a protein source. Another detail worth checking is how much almond is actually in the drink. Many commercial almond milks contain a small percentage of almonds, with the rest made up of water and other ingredients for texture and stability. Thickeners like guar gum, gellan gum, or carrageenan help create a creamier feel, but they don't add nutrition, and in some individuals, especially those with slower or more sensitive digestion, they may cause mild bloating or discomfort when consumed regularly. The calcium and vitamin D fortification in almond milk is a benefit, but there's an important nuance. Different forms of added calcium are absorbed differently by the body, and absorption can vary with diet, digestive health, and medications. You don't need to avoid fortified almond milk for this reason, but relying on one beverage as your only calcium source isn't ideal. It's safer and in line with NIA dietary guidance to combine it with other calcium-rich foods like leafy greens, calcium-set tofu, canned salmon with bones, or dairy if you tolerate it. Flavored varieties also raise the issue of taste preference. Sweetened vanilla or chocolate almond milk can shift your palate toward expecting sweetness, even in coffee or cereal. That creates a potential hurdle if you later want to cut back on sugar and move to unsweetened versions. Starting with, or switching to, unsweetened fortified almond milk removes the steady sugar intake and makes it easier for your taste buds to adjust. You can add your own flavor at home using cinnamon, cocoa powder, or a drop of vanilla extract without adding much or any sugar. For some people, almond milk replaces dairy for comfort, not just nutrition. Less bloating, no allergy symptoms, lighter feeling drinks. Those benefits are real when dairy is a trigger, but the healthier branding can lead people to overlook nutritional gaps compared to what they've been replacing. The lower protein, variable calcium absorption, and frequent presence of added sugars mean it works best when treated as one part of a broader plan, not a nutritional stand-in for all the roles milk used to fill. If you like the flavor and texture, the simplest upgrade is to choose unsweetened, fortified almond milk most of the time. Keep the sweetened varieties as an occasional extra rather than a daily habit. When you do want the nutritional heft of milk, especially with breakfast or as a post-activity option, swap in fortified soy milk or a pea protein blend. These fortified alternatives not only match the calcium and vitamin D levels, but also provide meaningful protein per serving, making them closer in function to dairy milk. A quick shopping habit can help you get the most from whichever plant milk you choose. Check the nutrition facts for added sugars, review the calcium and vitamin D amounts, and note the protein content. That small step takes seconds, but ensures you know what you're, and aren't, getting. In practice, this means you'll spot right away if a carton that seems healthy is actually delivering more sugar than you want or falling short on protein when you need it most. Serving size awareness matters too. The panel lists nutrition for 1 cup, but when you're topping up coffee multiple times or pouring generously over cereal, you can end up doubling your intake easily. With unsweetened versions, the impact is minimal. With sweetened ones, those extra unnoticed servings can steadily push up daily sugar totals. Understanding where almond milk fits in your overall diet helps keep its use intentional. As a light, lactose-free option to complement meals that already deliver protein and other nutrients, it's a fine choice. As the primary replacement for milk in multiple meals every day, especially in its sweetened form, it can crowd out sources of protein and steer your habits toward more added sugar. For older adults balancing bone health, muscle retention, and stable energy levels, that difference isn't trivial. Choosing the version that suits your goals, pairing it with other nutrient-rich foods, and rotating with higher protein alternatives like fortified soy milk gives you more control. That approach keeps the benefits that almond milk offers, without letting its marketing image hide gaps that matter for long-term health. Once you get in the habit of looking beyond the claims on the front of the carton and reading the details on the back, it becomes easier to decide whether a plant milk, or any product, really fits your needs. Those same skills make it far less likely that a product positioned as a better choice ends up quietly working against the goals you're aiming for. And as you've seen, that pattern isn't limited to 1 or 2 items. It shows up in a wide range of everyday foods and drinks. In 2025, food companies have sharpened their ability to market to older adults, using health-focused language while selling products loaded with sugars, sodium, or additives that can work against long-term wellness. Certain processed ingredients and salt substitutes can also affect medications. Always check with your healthcare provider or pharmacist if you're on prescription meds. A simple checklist can help when shopping. 1. Read the nutrition facts per realistic serving. 2. Watch total sugar and sodium per actual portion. 3. Prefer whole food sources of protein and fiber. 4. Ask your clinician about food-medication interactions. Share in the comments one healthy swap you already use, and let me know if you'd like a one-page grocery list based on today's examples.